All right. How we doing, Amanda?
Good. I just always chuckle at the intro. Sorry.
I yeah, the intro is great. That's
It's
so
so
great.
good.
I am joined tonight. Welcome everybody. I'm joined by my partner in crime from All That Jam Pod, Amanda, and we are here to talk about night two. And I have thoughts, and I think Amanda has thoughts. So give me an overall of the show for you.
All right. I will do that. And I will say, just right off the bat, I'm not a yoga person, but I feel like this was the vinyasa flow show. It just kind of, everything kind of just worked, kind of like this up until the whistling part. But we can get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. I thought so too. Very. I feel like we fell back into summer tour here a little bit with a really strong first set, first half of the second set, and then phone it in. So,
Yeah.
but okay, we got Fluffhead off the top, and Fluffhead, I believe, maybe it was NICU Pavilion last fall where they didn't finish the Fluffhead. Like this one was unfinished. It was pretty cool. I once they let go of the song there, what'd you make of what was going on there?
Yeah. I was trying not to compare too much to Alpine and the Dick Summer Fluff, right? For different reasons. Um, I like it as a set one opener. I mean, it hasn't happened that many times, like 4 or 5 times. So placement wise, I do think it's a fun way to start a show. Obviously, we always probably think back to '09. But it's funny, I saw some people online calling for Landlady, Lawn Boy, but I know we got a cat instead. So
Right.
good way to open it though.
We talked last night a little bit about Fluffhead and structured songs like that and placement for them. And I think, and what we were saying is Fluffhead as an opener or a set closer works much better than trying to throw it in the middle of a set.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we are going to hit this when we talk about the encore too. But
Yeah.
the end of the pet cat, everybody's been saying they've been teasing it all summer. And I guess finally, I guess they have been. I mean, I'm not very good at teases and stuff like that, but that was pretty fantastic how they ended up in there. It was reminiscent of like last night with the It's Ice coming, out of Wave of Hope there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then we ended up in a very nice gin.
I thought so. That for me was personally the highlight of set one.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I mean, I
Okay.
feel like they went with it, and I feel like we got a pretty good segment there between like minute 8 and 14. They took it for a little walk, little light stroll with some good build in there. So yeah, I was happy with that.
I was happy with it too. And it's the third spot, very interesting because usually that falls into a second set spot or a closer spot maybe. And then
Yeah,
we got the debut of the night, which I think might be one of Trey's strongest songs off that Lonely Trip album.
definitely my favorite song off. Is it Mercy?
Hey Stranger. Hey Stranger.
But from the
Yeah, for
album
Mercy, that's
or
what it's
Mercy.
called, right? Yeah, not Lonely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
Mercy, right.
acoustic. Yeah, definitely was my favorite song on that album. I don't really know what I think of that album, but we're not talking about that now, so I'm going
Yeah.
to leave that leave that alone. It's got a good little understated groove, and I was listening to it, and it occurred to me a couple minutes in, this does not feel like a debut in the sense of the word of you're trying to figure it out. It felt good there. It felt right, and it kind of
Fully
just
fleshed out.
yeah, it went with my flow theory for the evening.
Yes. I'm assuming that if I haven't seen a uh, warm up, sound check, but I'm wondering if that appeared at sound check because it did sound very rehearsed, very tight. I love the Trey's hitting the um, rhythm guitar parts on it as opposed to it, being straight solo. So that was fun. Then we got a tube. It was unmercifully short.
Yeah, less than
I
10 minutes, I think.
I think it hit like 7. I think it barely hit 7. So tube's one of those ones that make me wonder that my theory is when Trey doesn't know what to play, he plays tube.
I mean, it's hard to knock it, right? I mean, it's just one of those songs, and I feel like they jumped in with a really solid kind of some good energy. he had that hero note thing that, the extended, like, let's just give Paige some opportunity. And I'm like, should I be timing this? Like, have I missed it?
Right.
But yeah, so I think I was probably ready for it to go a little bit longer than
A
it
little
did.
something.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Like you said, it's a good one to throw in.
Right. And this reminded me of every time I see Tube and Slave, which I can't say I've ever seen again. It reminds me of Dayton.
Mm.
They closed that first set with the Tube Slave. Slave, I don't know how it was only 8 minutes. I don't know how you do Slave in 8 minutes.
Mm-mm. This is a special song for me. I know we've talked about this, so I won't like go into detail, but we know that Slave is not usually going to be like the 20-minute song, right? Like the celebrated versions of it, I was checking it, clocks in, between honestly 9 and 12 minutes. There's like a really solid 97 version from Cleveland that was like 15, 16. But 7 minutes just felt like there could have been more. And I just love that simplistic, like that jam that they do. And I guess I could hear that go for a lot longer. So maybe that's what it is.
I felt like if you blinked, you would have missed it, but
Yeah.
it might just be, if you're saying that they're 9 to 12 minutes, it really, I guess you don't get that much extra muster on it from what they did tonight. Normally maybe it was the placement because they did Blaze On to close the set.
Yeah. I mean, it's a set 2 encore placement traditionally song. So maybe they could have busted it out and made it really take control of set 1, but that wasn't going to happen where it was,
Right, exactly. And then it was a solid Blaze On. I feel like Blaze On is settled into really it's what it is. It's either an opener or a closer. Sometimes you get the 20-minute one, but normally it's 10 to 12 minutes like tonight. I think it's a solid closer.
Yeah, I mean, things are dependable and that's great. And I think that's where I messaged Kevin, I don't know, probably during Blaze On, and I was like, tempo, like what's going on? I'm not sure what I'm feeling here. And I think maybe that's what it was. It's just, it's gonna do its Blaze On thing, and you're coming to the end of wherever you're at.
Right, exactly. Which we did, and they hit 77 minutes, which is respectable. I mean, 70, I think 70 is the over under normally on that. So they really went over that. All right, let me do some housekeeping. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the bell down there, ring that bell. You'll get your notifications. You can find Wook Plus at Wook Plus on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Everywhere it's Wook Plus. If you want to find Amanda and I on Mondays, check out All That Jam Pod. We drop something every Monday. You can find us on Twitter or on Instagram, All That Jam Pod, and check that out. When we get into the next year, Wook Plus, we got a lot of big ideas. So Liv will be back. We're going to try some documentary, maybe. We just dropped something, Amanda. I don't know if you saw this on Mountain Brews. It's a band out of California that T actually went and filmed and taped, and then we edited it down. So we're trying to get into that. We've done Taper's Choice. We've done Mountain Brews now. If you're a band listening to this, you want us to film you, let us know. So, all right. Then we took a nice set break. Everybody went and got a drink and a bottle of water, and we came back and got, I'd say, a pretty solid Bowie.
Yeah. I mean, this is where I get curious and I have to go and just look stuff up. I mean, it's been forever since they opened a second set with that. And I was curious what you think about that placement. Like, does it matter for a song like that to you?
My favorite Bowie is from 12/3/97, and that opened the set. So I am big on it opening the set. My only thing is I wish that they took the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes of it and expanded that a little more. Went into an ambient kind of just hi-hat kind of jam, but no, it's good as a set opener. It's the end of it loses some of its punch though, not being a set closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I feel like with something like that, and understandably, I was chatting with a few people over on Instagram about this during the show, of course, because that's our way of chomping through the show when you're at home, was just so early on. Of course, they had a lot less songs to play. They were opening up second sets with it like fire, in the 90s. But yeah, I think we've all just gotten used to you're right, that kind of build to end a set. But I like it. I think it's fun to play around with it.
Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I think it falls into that fluff head with me. Set opener, set closer, great. Middle of the set, kind of weird because the song ends. It definitely has an end, even though they didn't end fluff head earlier.
Yeah, except for that.
Right. And then we got into some of the newer stuff. We got the Everything's Right next, and I get the same thing with Blazing One. It is what it is. It does what it's supposed to do. 15 minutes maybe is clocking in a little longer than normal. Where are you at on?
Yeah, so I think it was it had to have been last night listening to you all and Benji, and I think you were saying that the dad rock songs a lot of times are kind of cringy up front, but then they morph into, or they can morph into, some great jams and other moments. And
right.
So
you got to make it through the first 5 minutes.
You do. You just have to kind of suck it up, Buttercup, get through the lyrics or whatever, if you're me, and then just move on with it. So the voice sounded a little rough. Poor Trey, I think he was, I don't know, sounded a little struggling, but I really was ready to take on the jam just based on what you all were talking about last night. I went into it with that attitude. I could have sworn I heard a little no quarter-ish teases in the second part of the song. And, I feel like it was a fast 14 minutes. It seemed to move. I feel like they kept it going.
They did. And they dropped into the M.
Yeah, but they didn't need to go back to the chorus. I feel like they could have really just gone dipped right into it. Right. A little yem, but still it was great.
I think that Trey worked really hard to come up with an end for Everything's Right, so they're going to do it.
They're gonna
one way or another.
I get that. It is a lot of work.
It is. It was a solid yam. Some interesting. 19 minutes. It had a little extra in the jam in the middle there. The tramp, pre-tramp part. What can you say though? I felt like they flubbed a little maybe on it.
Yeah, and in my mind, my question that I think to myself is Yem one of those songs where a standard version is better than almost any other thing you're ever going to hear? There's standouts for sure. Tonight was not one of them for me, but it's classic, it's iconic, it's like wearing your favorite fleece, it just feels good. And so it's always nice to hear it. And, I think that's what it was tonight. Nothing outstanding, but also just, I think, a pretty solid one.
Right. The problem has always been the vocal jam once they ended it instead of it, I don't know. Anyway, then we got, here's where I feel like we fell off. We got the Ruby Waves. I know everyone loves Ruby Waves and it's great. It was a solid version, but I feel like it's again a thing that Trey now falls back on. Ruby Waves is a very comfortable thing. They know what it's going to do. Are you a Ruby Waves person?
I was just going to say, I am not. And I think part of my issue is just, when everybody's...
It's got the world's dumbest lyric.
Well, that's, yes, one of, for sure. I just think, I'm that person that when everybody's just talking stuff up, 38 minutes, blah, blah, I'm kind of just like, whoa, I don't have to like it as much as everybody's saying they do. So I've struggled with Ruby Waves since that time. There's some dissonance in there. I was just trying to hang with it. At one point I did feel like the jam was taking off a little bit, maybe 10 minutes in, but it did have a nice dissolve though into Lonely Trip, which was, I thought was pretty cool.
It was. That was a good transition there. I think that a lot of times people think that length is the most important, is the thing, I think the best 38 minutes of the summer 2019 were the Mr. Completely 20 Years Later from Camden. That was a good 40-minute block there. The Ruby Waves was good, and people are going to shoot me because they don't think I like the Midwest, but
they can think what they want. That's cool.
Lonely Trip was so short. I feel like that's one of the, maybe it was Dick's last year that they did the really long one. I think they broke it out in 21 is when it debuted, but they did a really long one, and there's a lot of spaces to it. I like the soul vibe. It really reminds me of a 70s soul song, kind of thing.
And for a newer one, right? I mean, all things considered, it is definitely a different vibe, which I think is what you're saying, than some of the other songs we talk about, right? Like the Everything's Right and Blaze On. I like Lonely Trip a lot. I do like what it's about. So I don't think it qualifies maybe with some of the other more contemporary songs. And I liked it where it was in the set. Normally I might feel like, oh, are we just going off track? But it did seem to work there, I felt.
It did. It did. It's better than I know everyone loved Leaves last night, but
That was a great chat, by the way.
yes, that was. I'm never gonna live that down. All
I
right, and then
appreciate you. You gotta have your convictions, you know?
you do. Then we got two rockers.
Hmm.
Back on the train and Zero, which I thought was strange, because they were both standalones to end the set. It was like, all right, we did Ruby Waves, we went into Lonely Trip. Let's stop Lonely Trip and do Back on the Train. Let's stop
Hmm.
that and do Zero. But good big rock and roll songs. You
Yeah,
gotta
I
love it.
mean, it's always great, and Phish does this so well, but ending a set with some energy, some great, wow pedal. I liked Trey's kind of soloing section in Character Zero tonight. I thought he seemed to just be having a lot of fun with it, and so that's always nice to see.
It is. It is. All right, let me ask you before we knock out the encore there. You have any ideas, any thoughts about what's going to happen Saturday night?
Oh God, this is a lot of pressure, and I had this documented. I have the receipts on this because this past spring I did call an ocean water theme.
All
And look what
right.
happened.
Yeah.
So now that's not my style. Normally I'm wrong about everything. So I would love to see some kind of play on the last couple of years, since it's their first, official run like this in the way that we all know it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're planning something that speaks to the last couple of years and what's happened, but who knows?
Well, I've heard that the extra $50 per ticket for the New Year's ticket, because they were 150 or whatever, was going to whatever the gag was.
Hmm.
So 50 times 18,000 people is a lot of money for a gag.
All right. I did not hear that. That's so interesting. All right. Now my wheels are spinning.
That's like $900,000 or something.
What could you do? Okay, well, maybe everybody gets like a
Right.
gold plated,
Hockey
donut or
puck.
something.
What'd you think of the new camera? They had the NFL like space cam or whatever they call that.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm auditory focused when I'm listening to shows like this. I mean, I have obviously the video on, so I definitely saw it. I know there are going to be people out there who have a lot of opinions on it, but I think it's cool. For me, it's that part of it is not my priority.
Right, I'm the
know?
same. I have it on over here,
Yeah,
so I can like look over, but most of the time I'm working while I'm listening
yeah, but
to
it's
the thing.
cool. I mean, they're always continuing to try new things and improve on what they already do, which is awesome.
Right. Now, last night we had Esther walking into the encore. Tonight we had Gaiuti. Seems like a good place to stick these composed songs, but I feel like as good as Esther was last night, that was a little rough tonight there with Gaiuti. Like Charleston, Tim mentioned he was having flashbacks to Charleston in
Nice,
19.
Tim. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, first, I love this song so much. Love, like capital letters. And I get where you're coming from with, like Esther and thinking about them. I'd have to really go back and think through this, but to me, Gaiuti is one of the most technical compositions. I mean, they can't jam it, right? It's one of those. It's four
It is
sections.
what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And it
So
didn't feel right. Like
it comes down to, because it is what it is, how well do they do it compared to the artifact, the studio, where they in theory nailed it, and that is the perfect version. So it that also becomes part of my thing. You either do it right or you don't do it right. And I feel like tonight, I mean, it was funny. Trey had fun blowing the whistling part. What did he say? It's tough to laugh when you're whistling, or whistle when you're laughing.
yeah. I mean, it is awesome to see anybody that can they've been doing this for so long, right? Just kind of get through that. I don't know how to whistle at all. So like props to anyone who's going to even try it, but they haven't played that at an encore in over 10 years. I checked. And I just feel like you have to be so ready with energy to spare for that kind of song. And it's a hard one, you know?
Mm-hmm. It
So,
is.
not
And
that
then
clean
they
as-
figured, hey, let's do something that's even more energy. And Possum, and then they kicked it because I don't think Possum, they don't even have to think about. I think they go into
Right.
Possum and it's like Johnny Be Good or something. It's just a song and it's high energy and boom. We don't even, it's going to happen.
Yeah, they're not even going to remember the whistling stuff. They just
Right.
throw out a possum. And honestly, my notes said I would have just called it, but hey, a possum, hello, like let's just put it out there. And I think you're right. I think sometime last summer, I feel like this came up as well with a song that they played so often, right? In so many different kinds of variations. I feel like they could just kind of throw it out there, and it's gonna be a good one.
Yep. So what you look at well, let me ask you this. What are you going to be watching tomorrow?
I have multiple screens on, Kevin. I want to watch it all. I mean, is that too much to ask? If I'm home and I can't be there, Phish will take priority. There's no question about that. But I'll definitely have a secondary device on to check out some Goose.
Now, do we know if Goose is doing a gag? Are they doing 3 sets, or is it just going to be a regular 2-set show?
I personally have not heard much about that, but I may not be the person to know. But it has not come through my channels that I can remember, even the more active ones. I don't know. I mean, I know they did some stuff at Goose Miss, right? And it was great, what they did. I am very curious in my own mind to figure out, like, are they a gag antics New Year's band? Like, are they going to go for that, or maybe be like, that's not really our thing, which in itself would be kind of an interesting statement.
Right. I don't think the Goose Miss they ever did anything but maybe some crazy covers. I don't think. I mean, they dressed up like, what's his name? Dressed up like the elf.
I liked the ball, riding on the green
balls
red
was
ball.
neat.
That was a cool just participation thing. I wouldn't really call that a gag, but
it has to be so hard for bands coming after Phish to do anything.
Yeah,
because Phish is like pretty much tried it all,
Well, and they just go so far. And I've been doing like a countdown to some of my favorite New Year's Eve shows on Instagram. And I had the 2010 Meat Stick yesterday, kind of chatted about that. I mean, like, in whose mind does that happen? It's amazing. I still watch the video of that all the
that's
time.
up there for me. It's one of the better New Year's gags. I mean, it was just such a great
Wait, literally 3 days later, like, did that happen? Were we there for that? Did we see that? I mean, Cheese has always done really awesome New Year's. I was just talking about that with someone today. They do very authentic stuff for them. So I think that's what it is. Like, whatever a band might do, it has to feel like it's a part of their thing,
Right.
So I'm curious.
I'm curious too.
Yeah.
All right, very good. We knocked it out of there. It's always a pleasure.
Same.
You enjoy the rest of your weekend there. You have something else that goes on Wednesdays. You want to tell everybody that real quick?
Yeah, awesome. So over on Homegrown Radio, I have a weekly show, The Barline Shift, 2 hours. It's not all jam bands. Do a lot of theme shows, some interviews with folks working in the music industry, kind of on the sides, the crew, venue operators, etc. So have a great time with that one.
Which gives us a great perspective beyond the guy walking on stage and plugging in for 2 hours.
Yeah, hear all the dirt behind the scenes. Just kidding. Everyone's very nice, but there's some good stories out there.
All right, tomorrow, remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Tomorrow we have Anderson Skinny from Attendance Bias coming on. Tim will be back. If I can find some way to transport to New York, I might not be here, but we'll see how that works. Awesome. And then on Saturday, I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen, but I think we're probably going to get a little crazy, since it'll be at 2 a.m. or whatever. We're working with after Phish, after show. So, nice. All right, I'm supposed to be ready right now with the outro music. So I'm going to pretend like I'm saying something important while I figure that out. All right, we'll see you guys later.